Alright, so what are my goals in creating a YouTube channel? I've learned a lot of things from watching YouTube videos, and I wanted to do something to fill my free time now that I've got a job where I only work about half of a week. I also figured that I could maybe turn it into a source of secondary income. I got interested and started looking at different videos online on how to do that, and one of my passions has always been tinkering with my computer. And it's gotten to the point where I'm kind of the household tech guru, I guess. I'm no expert, just a regular guy with a bunch of experience. When I have questions, I sometimes call my own dad, who taught me how to do things, or look it up online myself, and I figure out what I need to do. Uh, I joined the Navy about 20 years ago in the hope of becoming a technical expert. When I signed up, I wanted to be an electronics technician and be able to deal with circuit boards and stuff like that. As fate and Big Navy wanted to have it, I ended up becoming a machinist mate. I was disappointed that it was so completely the opposite skill set of what I intended to learn that I made the most of it and learned many extra skills that I wasn't planning on learning. I know a lot about nuclear power and submarines now that I didn't know before, but upon retirement, I've wanted to go back to my original interests. Periodically throughout my enlistment, I daydreamed that whenever I retired from the Navy, I could set up a shop with my dad and help build computers. And then I realized that there's probably not going to be much money being made. There's no profit margins with the way the prices are set for everything. So instead, I thought of teaching. I was an instructor for about half of my time in the Navy, and it was one of the things I enjoyed the most. And so I figured I could make a series of instructional videos that I could put on YouTube on how to build a computer. If I can train people how to operate a nuclear submarine engine room, I'm pretty sure I can put together a video to show how to build a computer and the extra parts that go into that. But how did I start? Like I said earlier, I'm not really an expert on all of this. I don't know all the newest gizmos and all the bleeding edge technology, but I figure you don't have to. The skills that you are required to have aren't complex, and the tools you need aren't really super specialized. You just need like a screwdriver. I just needed a way to differentiate myself from all the other tech gurus out there. Something I loved learning the most from my time in the Navy was researching. As a repair parts petty officer, which is kind of a collateral duty that we have, usually for the newest guys, I learned how to find all the exact parts I needed to repair all the complicated machinery that we have inside of a nuclear submarine, down to the most excruciating detail. If I failed to get the right parts, and of course get them put into whatever equipment they needed properly, and test it and everything else, it would mean critical failure of those components, and it could lead to the deaths of myself, my shipmates, and ultimately the submarine could get lost because of that. So how do I translate that skill from researching parts for a nuclear submarine to researching parts for a computer? Picking the parts to create a computer kind of uses the same sort of skill set and the attention to detail. Failing in the most basic of those steps could just lead to a cascade of problems that'll prevent the computer from even operating properly or even reaching its full potential. So I'm hoping to put together a bunch of videos to show how to do this in the most simplistic terms possible. If you're looking to create the most awesome gaming rig in the world, that's not really what I'm here to show you. I would rather just teach people the extreme basics and create a growing foundation to become more detailed and experienced, both for myself and for my viewers. What I enjoy the most about all of this is learning skills and applying them. It's kind of getting a little bit of the enjoyment out of it, that dopamine kick that sits in when you're successful. It's always a really awesome feeling to me when I go out and kind of pick all the parts that I want to put into my new computer, and once it gets all installed and I start it up, and it boots up right for the first time, it's one of the best feelings out there. But then there's the other half of it where I get that part and it doesn't quite fit right, or the technical specifications aren't quite what I needed, or when I hit the power button, it just doesn't boot up. And there's that's the failing aspect of tinkering with your computer. Sometimes you pick it wrong. My current computer, desktop, is one that I bought in 2015 when I transferred from my last submarine duty to shore duty, and I had a little bit of extra money left over from when I was stationed in Hawaii. So I got the blessing of my wife. Kind of need to do that because she'd probably kill me otherwise. And bought a computer that I really wanted to. I didn't build that one specifically. I'll admit I bought it off of an internet website. Put all the pieces together for it, but I got everything I wanted to. I got double video cards. I got a top of the line AMD processor, everything I could possibly think of to throw inside that thing. But from the beginning, there were a bunch of issues. Something was wrong with my setup. I think it generated too much heat. The stock fans that were inside of it just did not work very well to remove heat. My video card started failing. First one went down, then the other one went down, and so I just changed them out and upgraded to a new NVIDIA card because I preferred NVIDIA anyway. I just went with the AMD video cards because they were cheaper at the time. Nowadays, none of it's the same, or almost none of it's the same. At this point, I've upgraded the case fans. I've replaced the motherboard, the processor, the memory, the solid-state boot drive I had when I bought it failed, so I had to get a new one. About the other things that remain from that original purchase are the optical drive that I haven't used in a couple of years, the actual hard drive that I have inside for storage, the power supply, and the case itself. None of these changes happened all at the same time, kind of just piecemeal over the years. Upgrading is the same process as creating a build. You find the parts that you need and you put them into the computer, and the hard part, honestly, is finding the right pieces or piece that you want to put into your computer puzzle. Sometimes you just don't know what piece you want to find. During my final sea tour, something died inside my computer. I didn't have any idea what it was. I came home from work one day after a duty day where I was there for 24 hours, and my computer was off. So I turned it on, and no response. I had no idea what the heck's going on with this. So my gut instinct was that there was some sort of power supply failure. So I asked around at work. I found a guy who had a spare power supply lying around. Borrowed that, and it wouldn't plug into my computer. It had the different power pins for it. It was much older than my computer was, and it was just not compatible. So I went out and bought myself a new one, and got that all hooked up, and the computer still failed to turn on. So I'm like, what the heck is going on with this thing? So my next guess was then, if I've got power going to the motherboard's not powering up. Everything else had worked before, so I know it wasn't something wrong with switches or anything like that. So the power button would work if I hit the power button. But it was still dead. I had no idea what's going on. So I asked around again at work. I knew a buddy at work that had just changed out all the guts inside of his computer with brand new stuff, and he was super jazzed, and he kept talking about it, and I was like, all right, cool. He's got extra parts lying around. So I bugged him about it, asked if I could borrow his old motherboard and processor and the memory chips that went with that, and I swapped out the guts on my computer to see if that was the problem. Could have been my motherboard or my processor or something along those lines that wasn't working properly, but it was kind of a joint deal. If one was dead, the other was not going to work for me. I'd have to replace that too. And I was using an AMD system, he was using Intel, so I couldn't even just take a chip and move it over. So I made a deal with him. If I could borrow that stuff, put it inside the computer, and get it to fire up, I'd buy it off him for $100 or so. If it didn't work, I'd give it back to him and try to figure out what else was going on. So he loaned me what I was asking for. I took it home, plugged everything together. I was kind of janky the way I had it set up. I had the motherboard literally just sitting on the cardboard box. It came in, plugged everything in with the case, got a monitor hooked up, keyboard, mouse, and turned it on, and it worked. So I knew everything was working just fine, so I knew that my motherboard or my processor, one of those two, was jacked up, so it wasn't going to do me any good. So I took the spare power supply that I had purchased back to the store, got myself a refund for it, and was able to pay my friend for the computer parts, and kept his motherboard and processor, and kind of got myself some extra memory out of the deal. And troubleshooting is kind of like that. It's kind of a shot in the dark sometimes. You just know, you use whatever resources you have available to get by. For myself, I've got every person in my house has their own PC except for my oldest. He prefers his laptop for some inexplicable reason. The maneuverability from one room to another, I guess, is what he likes about it. But I've got spare parts. If I have to, I'll take another computer down, swap pieces out for troubleshooting, and get it going, at least figure out what the problem is. In the end, getting the parts that I did from my friend, it wasn't really an upgrade. It was kind of a side grade, going from an AMD processor to an Intel processor. But my computer worked. Actually, my gaming went a little bit better because Intel's slightly better for gaming than the AMD one was that I had. And I had that dopamine hit, you know. And I kind of want to just teach other people how easy it really is to look up the parts you can add into your computer to replace parts if you need to. It's not really an arcane skill that only computer nerds and techno geeks are able to figure out. Anybody can do that. So here we are. I figured out I could at least start with the video series about taking apart and putting together a really basic computer, and hopefully you've watched the results of that. Clearly, I've never made any YouTube videos before, so I'm still kind of working the bugs out on how to do all of that. My editing isn't the best. I don't have crazy intros or bells and whistles and gizmos and stuff that a lot of other YouTubers have. I'm getting on there. That's my slate of things to learn. I'm actively playing with a couple of extra programs so I can kind of start streaming my screens so I can show you how I actually go into researching parts and the decision points I have to purchase the parts that I'm going to get, and show you how to upgrade it from there. I've been kind of stuck in a bubble, literally in a submarine, for the majority of the last 20 years, and I'm trying to get outside of that shell, figure out new things, build up some new skill sets, and hopefully I can make some money out of this too on the side. Didn't want to keep doing the same things over and over again, so I hope you guys stick with me in my journey as I learn how to do these videos and how to learn how to entertain you guys, because I know I'm kind of boring sometimes. You can learn something new while I'm learning something new. If you have any feedback on things you want to see or things you want me to teach you how to do, or even just how to improve my videos, please let me know. I can take it on board and improve my content, and we can both benefit together. So thank you for watching. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe to my channel and click the like button. It helps get me more viewers. And hopefully you can drop me some comments below. Let me know what I'm doing bad, what I'm doing good, and ways I can improve. And I'd love to hear your feedback. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in my next video.